Hello, hello. Good to see everybody. Just pop in the chat what it is that you hope to get out of today, or if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer during the presentation. We're talking about the vagus nerve today. So for those of you coming in, if you have anything that specifically that you want to learn, exercises to help strengthen the vagus nerve, great. We are going to do some of that for sure. There's about half of today's presentation, if not more, is dedicated to different exercises that you can do when you know that your vagus nerve is starting to shut down, or that you might be heading in that direction, so that you can keep it from going into that. Alrighty, let's get started. Okay, so the vagus nerve is a bundle of nerves, of course, that starts in the brain and connects to every major organ system in our body. Okay, we actually have two, one on each side. How can the vagus nerve be pre-programmed so it does not overly stimulate? Okay, perfect. So we have two vagus nerves, one on each side, but we do call collectively all of it the vagus nerve. Okay. The vagus nerve is a major parasympathetic. So we've got the autonomic nervous system, and that takes care of anything that you're not thinking about, like your breathing, your heart rate, your lungs, and everything like that. And the vagus nerve and the autonomic nervous system splits into the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. All right. So you got autonomic nervous system, parasympathetic, sympathetic. The vagus nerve is a major parasympathetic nerve. So its main function, this means, is to counteract the stress response by activating the rest and digest system. So when you're in a state of stress, you're not resting and digesting very well. Okay, and we're going to talk about all that in a second. The sympathetic nervous system regulates trauma responses and stress responses. So a stress response looks like, most of us have heard of the fight or flight. Okay, there's also freeze and fawn. We're going to be going into more fawn, how to know that's your response later on, because a lot of people haven't heard about it. Fight is essentially you're going to fight whatever's coming towards you. Flight, you're going to run away. Freeze, imagine, you can see out in nature sometimes that, like, when an animal, just before it's about to die, it might just freeze. Okay, and that's to prevent more harm to it, or more signals from going to its body. And then again, there's the fourth one that is fairly new, called the fawn response, which I'm going to be going more into because most people know about flight and fright, and fight, oh, all these F's, okay, but not about the fawn response. Okay, so as I said, the parasympathetic nervous system is the rest and digest system. The vagus nerve helps to decrease your alertness, making you more calm, decreases blood pressure, heart rate, helps with relaxation, because it also innervates areas of the lungs and especially digestion. Okay, it helps in the gut, the brain communication, and then decreases inflammation. So that's why the vagus nerve is so important to talk about and regulate, because it is in a part of all the different major systems in the body. It also has hormonal responses when you're under stress, right? And hormonal response to being safe is released into the bloodstream when you're feeling safe. When you're stressed, you're getting adrenaline, cortisol pumping through your body, and all the cells in your body are reacting to those hormones that are coming. Okay, so if the vagus nerve is not functioning correctly, it affects your healing ability. And the way that your vagus nerve responds is called the vagal tone. Okay, so the vagal tone is something that some people talk about. It's actually the health and strength of your vagus nerve. Okay, and so to give you an idea, in the research, it's showing depressed people tend to have a lower vagal tone than the general population, and it's connected to less changes in their facial expression and the way that they speak, because the vagus nerve also goes into the voice. Okay. So stress, we talk about it a lot because the vagus nerve is turned off during stressful events. So if you don't know that you're under stress, you don't even know if your vagus nerve is on or off or how it's functioning. And it could have gone back to, you know, since the beginning of time. Well, since your time and when you were born. And stress doesn't come from what's happening in your life. It comes from what you think about what's happening in your life. So I'll say that again. Stress doesn't come from what the actual event that's happening. It comes from what you're thinking about happens. Okay. And same with trauma, stress, trauma. I'm going to use them a little bit interchangeably. I'll tell you the more nuances as we go along. But like trauma isn't usually what's happened to us. It's the story we tell ourselves based on what's happening to us. Okay. Most of us can tolerate pain. It's suffering that we can't tolerate. So we know that, let's say you break your arm, you're going to be in a cast for 6 to 8 weeks and physio. You know it's going to be painful, but you also know it's going to end. Right? You know, you go to the gym and you haven't gone in a while, there's going to be pain there. And that's okay. Most of us accept it. Giving birth, it's painful. You know, we accept that. It's suffering and not knowing when it's going to end that people can't have a difficulty tolerating. All right. And the suffering comes in the stories that we tell ourselves about what happened. Right? Let's say we missed the bus. It just is that you missed the bus. The story you say is, oh, I'm always late. I'm not a good person. I can't do anything on time. You know, I'm not good enough. And we add all these labels and stories on top of each other when in fact, it just is, I missed the bus, right? And that spiraling is what starts to bring out the stress response and shuts down your vagus nerve. So it's about the story that we tell about what happened to us. And usually the story in the end, deep down, comes with turns into, I'm not worthy or something is wrong with me. This happened, or whatever event happened or whatever trauma happened, it usually comes down to, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, or there's something wrong with me. And in that state, the vagus nerve cannot function because you are not in a state of calm. So our nervous system, which the vagus nerve is part of, it's a cranial nerve, actually cranial nerve 10, and it starts in the brain. It's developed from birth, from the moment you're in the womb through childhood and obviously into adulthood. But as a child, if you don't experience like a safe, predictable, or secure relationship, what your body learns is that people are not safe. And so you build a defensive behavior. I'm just reading comments. Miss the bus, great opportunity to walk. Yes. So if you are not making it a story about yourself, you can definitely say, yeah, it's a great opportunity to walk, right? Or this must have happened for a reason, or there's something else I'm supposed to, learn through this. But if you are in that victim mentality kind of mindset, then it will spiral downwards. Okay. So when we don't have safe, predictable, secure relationships, we learn that people are not safe. Okay. And when things happen to us that are not safe, we learn that the world is not safe. And then our nervous system and our behavior adapts to that we are feeling unsafe. Okay. And so when you experience a threat or a perceived threat, your autonomic nervous system takes over. That's its job, to protect you. And then you enter into that trauma response, that fight, the flight, the fawn, or the freeze response. So let's discuss that a little bit. So the fight, again, running away, fighting. So if a lion or a tiger is approaching you, then you take and you decide to fight. there is even a certain posture, okay, that you do. Most people, fighting stance tends to be you bring your shoulders, make yourself smaller, you contract your muscles, okay? Your heart rate increases, the blood supply in your digestive system is stopped and it goes into the other organs and so that it can help you run away. So mostly it goes to your extremities so that you can fight again or run away if you're choosing that response, okay? So it takes a lot of blood to do the digestive process. And if you're trying to save your life, then that process is not needed at that moment. So that's why digestion stops. Okay? So some of these symptoms, if you're having digestive issues, if you're having trouble with your blood pressure, heart rate, can tell you if your vagus nerve is not functioning optimally or if there's a dysfunction or dysregulation somewhere in it. Okay. So when you're in the freeze state, it's also called dorsal vagal shutdown. Essentially, when a person is stuck in this freeze state, they can't do anything. They may even appear calm or have low anxiety, but in reality, what they're doing is they're numbing out their emotions or they're dissociating from their body, right? That's the freeze state. It's not good because you cannot feel what you need to feel in the moment, or you leave your body or you dissociate in order not to feel what's going on. That's what freeze is about. Sometimes when a person is in that shutdown freeze mode, they can also appear lazy or unmotivated. However, their body and their brain are actually going into conservation mode and they're trying to conserve enough energy to survive the threat. So freezing is to shut down, to conserve energy in order that you can make it through. That's why it's activated. Now, the fawn response, this is fairly new work, and it is about people pleasing, all right? It is about going along with somebody else's perspectives or their beliefs or their values without connecting to your own. So the trauma is you go towards others and you think what they think or you have their beliefs without actually checking if yours resonate with it or not. Okay? So you kind of don't matter. It also has dissociation in it, or leaving your body, or spacing out, like daydreaming. All right, something is happening and all of a sudden you go into a daydream in order to, so that you don't feel what's going on in this moment. In the fawn response, they let other people make the decisions. Okay. They tend to avoid any situations that could lead to conflict because it's about people pleasing, right? Making other people happy. So if other people make the decisions, then they're happy, right? And whoever's in the fawn response doesn't need to make a decision. People in the fawn response, you may fear saying no to something, and you might be overly polite or overly agreeable. Yes, whatever you want. Where do you want to go for dinner? Oh, wherever you want. What do you want to eat? Whatever you want. What do you want to do? Whatever you want, right? It's actually a trauma response. And people who respond in a fawn nature are hyper aware of other people's emotions. So they're always aware, always know what other people are feeling and their needs while they betray their own. Right? So how many people think they might be a fighter? Just raise your hand if you think you might be a fight kind of person. Right? How about a runaway, a flight? Okay. How about a freeze? Freeze, a couple freezes, okay. And what about fawn? Yeah, that's it. Most people don't even know about it. I'll get you the research on the person, the doctor who wrote about it, first wrote about it. I just don't have it right now in my notes. But they were the first one to identify this fawn response, and they actually found that a lot of people, without knowing, are in this state. Okay, So when you notice yourself people pleasing, going along with somebody else's things, and a part of you might be saying no, but you're still saying yes, that could be a trauma response. Right? So the vagus nerve shuts down again when we're in that state of trauma, when we're in the state of stress, and we need to go back to certain events in your life. One way to heal, okay, is to go back and find out, when did this vagus nerve turn off, and then reactivate it? When did the vagus nerve turn off? What traumatic events could have happened that caused it to turn off? And then reprogram from there. Okay. So when unprocessed stress or trauma happens, it is either a sudden emotional event, all right? So something happened, right, suddenly that you weren't expecting, or that you were, but a sudden emotional event, or something smaller but repeated over time. So some people may think, I don't have any trauma in my life. I had a great childhood, all these things, but because there was never one event that happened, but it can be something repeated over and over again. And when we first go into the trauma response, it's when we're young, when we're children. And that's at a time where your brain is more susceptible to receiving information from other people, okay? And you weren't able to determine for yourself if the information that you received was true or not. We don't develop the conscious mind until about after age 7, and doesn't start to fully develop until 13. So that means for a lot of your childhood, whatever someone else is saying to you, you are taking as fact. So if your grade 1 teacher says you're not good enough, you don't think, oh, well, that's not what I think. You just say, oh, I'm not good enough. And then you hear that over and over and over again. Yes, or if you were bullied and, then you kept, every time something happened that reminded you of that trauma, then you validated for yourself your core wound of I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy. Right? And so the traumas stack on top of each other over and over again. Yeah. So remember, trauma is also how your child brain interpreted what happened to you. Right? It doesn't have to do with the other people around you. You may have felt as a child unlovable, or that you're not safe, or you're not good enough, even though other people may have told you you're safe, right? So other than a big trauma happening to you, there are 4 A's that could cause repeated little trauma, micro traumas over time, all right? So that would be lack of attention, lack of affection, lack of affirmation, or lack of approval. Right? I'll say that again: lack of attention, affection, affirmation, or approval. So let's say your mom and dad both had to go out to work and you didn't have a lot of attention when you were growing up. You took that to mean they didn't love you because they didn't give you the attention that you needed. It's what your child brain interpreted as to what happened, right? And then over time, let's say they work a lot. Let's say they were always working. Then you took that to mean, I'm not important, I'm not loved. So it doesn't always have to be a big event, right? It just has to be something that you've repeated over and over and over again. So similar to limiting beliefs. If you heard from your parents, let's say that money doesn't grow on trees, that successful people are evil, and like all these things, then you repeat that over and over again, and that becomes a trauma. So later on in life, 4 signs that there might be some unhealed trauma or unprocessed trauma in your life could be trust issues. You don't trust other people, or anytime somebody says, oh, you should try this or you do that, then immediately you're like, okay, I have to research that, I have to do more. You don't just take something for value. Okay. Low self-esteem, poor emotional regulation. So not being able to emotionally regulate your emotions. So having a bigger than proportional reaction to an event. So you see this sometimes when people are caught in, let's say, traffic, and somebody cuts somebody else off, and then someone tries to take a baseball bat and hit them, right? And really that is an in proportional reaction to the event that's going on. So they have some unprocessed trauma, right? And sometimes it can show up as physical pain that you just can't explain. Right? Also, some people have said, I don't remember anything from my childhood. Not having memories is also a side of trauma. It's your brain's way of protecting you from long-term trauma. Right? So if you are one that doesn't remember a lot, then that is a sign. Does burnout has the same response as freeze, trying to conserve? Burnout has to do with committing, over people pleasing, so over fawning. You're giving all your resources to everybody else and you have none left for yourself. Okay. And then eventually you will go into a state similar to freeze where you can't do anything. And it's to conserve your energy. All right, so one thing to note when you're starting to do the work of going through your trauma responses so that and healing your vagus nerve, your body is leaving survival mode, right? So you may face some withdrawal symptoms, meaning you don't have that steady stream of cortisol or insulin or the adrenaline spikes that you normally would. So every time you respond, let's say throughout your day, or react, and with anger, you're going to get a spike in the cortisol, spike in the adrenaline, all right, spike in the sugar. When you start to even out those spikes, you may suffer some withdrawal because you're not getting that throughout your day. All right. So this means that your brain is going to need a lot of energy in order to create the new pathways that you want to create. Right? So you're changing your nervous system's response and creating new pathways so that you can get a different response out of your body and your brain. That's how you regulate the nervous system. Okay. So when you know you're going to be doing work involving trauma or unprocessed trauma or stress, stuff like that with your body, you need to do extra support. So you might need the extra sleep with all healing, right? Extra sleep that you wouldn't, more than you normally might need, more nutritious food than you might normally eat, your vitamin D and sunlight to repair the body and the mind. So we just want to keep in mind that as you're doing the work, you may get some withdrawal symptoms because the hormones that you normally have are not there anymore. And so you need to take extra care of yourself, right? That's one component to keep in mind. Okay, so let's get into some tools and strategies for healing the vagus nerve. So I'm going to mention a couple general ones, and then we're going to actually go through different exercises, probably 3 or 4 exercises that'll help you in the moment when you notice that you're experiencing your vagal nerve is starting to shut down, i.e. you're getting into a state of stress, i.e. you're going into a trauma response. Okay, and then we'll go over any questions that you might have. So for strengthening the vagal tone, Anita, you asked about this. Cold exposure is good. The William Hoff method, I don't know if you guys know him, Will Hoff, he teaches breathing and controlling your breath while you are he does it in ice. Most people for cold exposure are not going to sit in ice, it's rather a lot, but you can take cold showers, okay? That will help increase your vagal tone. Movement with mind and body connection, so yoga, all right? Child's pose is one that calms the nervous system, right? It is it's a basic move that if you just lie down and go into child's pose, that is good. But any type of yoga will help connect the body, or movement, that dance, whatever, that connects the body and mind, that is healing for the vagus nerve. Deep breathing, okay, because the vagus nerve controls the breath. Laughing, again, that's diaphragm involved with the vagus nerve. Singing, because there's innervation to the throat area. All right. Some people do gargling, where they gargle water to get their vagal tone going, right, in their throat. And obviously connection with others help to strengthen the vagal tone. Right. So read a couple of those again, and then we're going to go into specific exercises. All right. So things like tools and strategies you can try at home are cold exposure, take a 10-minute cold shower, start with one if 10 minutes seems too much for you, and you get to, control the amount of cold that you have. Mind body movement exercises such as yoga, tai chi, deep breathing exercises, laughing, singing, you can gargle, and connection with others. All right. So here's exercise 1. We want you to notice when you are, oh, Kelvin, you had a sign up. What does that say? Can I do child's pose at work? Sure, you can do child's pose anywhere. And you know what? You work with a lot of animals. Animals are great with yoga. They do downward dog, they do child's pose. My 3-year-old loves to do tree pose. That's her favorite. She's like, Mama, tree pose. That's her favorite pose. So if you ever see her doing trees pose, it's because it's her favorite. So
sorry, I can't chat because my phone's on a springy thing, so it'll be shaken. So that's why I'm writing it. But I don't think my customers would like me lying in the middle of the store in child's pose. So
you just write your sign, currently doing yoga.
Yeah, maybe they'll join me.
Come join me. It's probably great for business. You could have pet yoga, add that to your business. Pet yoga is great. All right, so exercise 1 is called real and perceived threat. And it is simply observing any triggers during the day. And when you feel a trigger come up, ask yourself, is this real or is this a perceived threat? Okay, so you start to notice that you react, or you start to notice that you're uncomfortable. Ask yourself, is this real or perceived? Okay. And then when you notice that most of the times it's not a real threat, okay? The majority of times we are not in danger. Our life is not in danger. When your life is in danger, you want the autonomic nervous system to kick in and get you out of there, right? Like that is its role. But the majority of our time, when you're getting stressed about the computer, about the traffic, about what somebody said yesterday in whatever board meeting, that is not a real threat. It's just a perceived one. So we want to go into that. We want to lean into the discomfort. Most of us are taught to avoid pain and to run as far as we can away from pain. However, in the pain is the healing. You need to go into the pain. You need to go into the discomfort because it's telling you something about your life. So when you feel like you're being triggered, when you feel like you're in a reaction, how do you feel? Most people say, I feel uncomfortable. All right. So that tells you maybe a boundary of mine was crossed. Maybe I said yes instead of saying no. Maybe I have too much on my plate. Maybe this relationship or that relationship is not the right one. What is the reaction or the trigger telling you? Maybe you overextended yourself. All right. The reason I'm saying you is because that brings the power back to you. If you make it about someone else, you put the power on them and you can't make the change. So we want to bring their power back to us because we can change. If we are in control of something, like whether something is a perceived or real threat, then we can make the change. Okay? Because it's not about them. They didn't do anything to you. You're the one who's having the reaction or the trigger. You're the one who's experiencing the trigger. No one can make you feel anyway, as an adult, no one can make you accept yourself because it's happening within you. It's what you take to mean about what they said. Okay? So we're not going to say anymore that they made me feel this way because they didn't. You made yourself feel that way. But in saying, if I made myself feel this way, then I can also make myself feel another way. I allowed myself to feel this way. That's taking my power back. Because if I allow myself to feel this way, I can also allow myself to feel another way. Right? We take, as adults, we take responsibility on managing our own reactions. We aren't responsible for others' feelings. We are responsible for our own reactions. So when you feel yourself being triggered, I want you to ask, is this a real or a perceived threat? And then lean into it. Get curious about what that threat, perceived threat, is actually trying to tell you. What is the trigger? Okay, so that's the first one. And I want you to try I'm going to send you the recordings so that you can try them all, but some will work best. Some strategies, these are all tools that have been in research. This is why I'm giving them to you. And some will work better depending on how you respond, which is why I asked, are you a fawn? Are you a fight? Are you flight? You know, which is your trauma response? Some will work better for others, okay? So first one is, observe your triggers for the day and ask yourself, is this real or perceived? And then find out what the discomfort is telling you. Okay, so when you notice you're in a trauma response, this is what you can do. This is one of the things that you can do. So we're going to go through all the exercises. I'm going to have you close your eyes. And if you can't close your eyes, but you while you're in a response, you can still do this in your mind. You're going to inhale and exhale 3 times. So take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth, and in through the nose, and out through the mouth. You're going to put your palms on your lap and just breathe normally. The first thing I want you to be aware of is the sounds in your room, sounds that are in the room that you're in. Observe the sounds in your room. Maybe you hear the air conditioning, maybe you hear the rain outside. Listen to the sounds. Now, notice the smell in your room where you are. What does it smell like? Is there any perfume? Is there any cologne? Can you smell food? Notice what you smell. Any scents in the room, the flowers, detergent on your shirt or your clothes, any oils or candles. What do you smell? Next, notice the taste in your mouth. Swirl your saliva a bit. Maybe you had a coffee, or maybe you brushed your teeth, or maybe you had some food. What does it notice the taste in your mouth? Now, notice the sensation behind your eyes. What do you see? Maybe you see colors, maybe it's light, maybe it's shadow. Observe what you see. And then slowly and gently coming back into your body, wiggle your hands and toes. So this exercise is good for people who freeze because they stay frozen. So when you're frozen, you might as well do some exercises that bring you back into your body. Okay, so while you're there, you're asking yourself, is this real? Is this perceived? Okay, it's not a real threat, but I'm really reacting. I'm being triggered. I'm starting to get angry. We want to bring you back to this moment. We use our 5 senses in order to do that. What do you taste? What do you smell? What do you feel? What do you see? You know, all of the senses, and bring you back into this now. Okay, this is good because in the present moment, we know it's not a a real threat. It's just a perceived threat. We already know that. So in the present moment, you are okay and you are safe. Okay? The exercise brings you back to now, because right now, no matter what's going on, you are okay. Your body comes back to the present moment, and it keeps your mind away from the trigger, because your mind is on the past or on the future, right? You're reacting. If you're reacting to something that happened 10 minutes ago, your mind is in the past. So what we're doing with this exercise is to bring you back into the present so that you are not reacting. What we're doing is all these exercises are trying to keep your vagus nerve from going off the charts and not functioning properly anymore. Okay, so you do have moments where you can reverse it easily. And so if you can catch yourself reacting or being in reaction instead of responding, then you can prevent the vagus nerve from going down. So that one is a good one for people who, if you have a longer time, like you're in your body and somebody's, you're trying to process things, right? The next exercise is a mantra. This one is good for people who need something really quick and who are going to run away, the fighters or the flighters, because that has to happen quick, because they go from 0 to 60 or they just run for it, right? So you need something that's going to happen in the moment right away. So there we go. For this one, it's a mantra. And for 60 seconds, when your emotions are triggered, you're going to say to yourself, feelings are not facts. 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 Because one of the ways that we counter the response is to have the opposite in our nervous system, meaning an opposite affirmation. So feelings are not facts, right? These are for the fighters and the flighters. Keep repeating that to yourself. Feelings are not facts. It's a really easy one, but it's one that can be done really quickly, right? Keep you from setting that off. Feelings are not facts. Say it in whatever way you need to, and as many times as you need to. So this next one is it's called the take root. Okay. And again, close your eyes. Take a couple deep breaths. Gonna bring up okay. So take root. You've asked yourself, is this a perceived or a real threat? And you realize that it is just a perceived threat. And you want to know, what is the discomfort telling you? So what you're going to do is have your feet firmly planted into the ground. Okay. You're going to take 3 deep breaths into the belly, in through the nose, not through the mouth. You're going to pay attention to your feet and bring awareness to your feet. And you're going to imagine that you have roots growing out of the bottom of your feet. And you're going to feel the roots growing all the way down, down, down into the core of the earth. And every time you inhale, the roots are going to sink down deeper. And as you exhale, they're going to sink down even deeper. Like a rounded big oak tree. You're going to keep sending the branches down until your legs feel so heavy. They feel like tree branches themselves. And once you're there, you're going to slowly bring your awareness back to your belly and back to you. Good. That one is a grounding meditation. It's good for the fawn response because it brings you back into your source of energy. The fawn response is about pleasing everybody else and noticing doing things for everybody else while ignoring yourself. When you grow your roots in down to yourself, you are reconnecting with who you are. Okay. So these 4 exercises, or 3 exercises, I'll go over them again, are things that you can do in order in the present moment to keep your vagal tone high, to keep your vagus nerve from going down. Okay, the first one is the real and perceived threat, and then finding out what the discomfort is telling you. The next one is being aware of your senses while you're in a trigger or a traumatic stress response. The third one is about repeating feelings are not facts. Feelings are not facts. Feelings are not facts. And that's the easiest one to do when you're triggered. Just repeat it over and over and over again. And then the last one is the take root one, where you send your roots down into the floor. Any question on any of those? No? Excellent. So we're going to do one final meditation, and this one is going back into time, trying to repair. The ones we went through today, the exercises, are from keeping your vagus nerve healthy in this moment, right now, okay? But what happened to all the past traumas? What happens to whenever your vagus nerve was dysregulated from years and years ago? This last meditation is going to address those, okay? So, when you're ready. Breathing normally. Bring your attention to your breath as it moves in and out. And again, don't worry about writing them down. You're going to get all the meditations. I'm going to email them as soon as they're ready within the next 24 hours. So bring your attention to your breath as it moves in and out of your body. Now move your breath into your heart. From here, we're going to take deeper and faster breaths into our heart. In through the nose and out through the mouth. With every inhale, you're going to connect with your heart, and with every exhale, you release what you no longer need. Inhale, connect to your heart. Exhale, you release what you no longer need. Inhale, exhale, inhale. Now slowly go back to your normal breath. That first part was just to connect with your heart in this moment, and then letting go of anything that you don't need right now. Go back to your normal breath. From this place, you're going to imagine that you're floating above your body right now. So you're going to float up, up, up. As you float above your body, you're going to imagine in your mind that you're going back in time. It could be when you were 3 or 7 or 12. Even if you can't pinpoint a time, it's okay. Wherever your mind is taking you, it is okay. You're going back to your past. You don't even need to see it or relive it. Just know that you are going back to where you need to be right now for this exercise. In your heart, in your mind, in your spirit, you know that there's something you need that needs love and that needs connection from the past. Something you need to forgive. You may or not know it consciously, but what matters is that you're allowing yourself to experience this. So knowing that something needs to be healed, take a deep breath in and breathe out and drop fully into your heart. Be fully present in this moment and breathe in and out. As you breathe in, you notice that there is another third energy around you, and it's the future you. It's the future you that is showing up right now, along with the current version of you and the past version of you. And you guys are having a meeting and a gathering together. And you don't need to know why or what's taking place, only that you're here right now. Your future you is here telling you that everything is okay, that things turned out as you needed. They're more courageous, more embodied, more integrated than the current version of you, and they are watching you and loving you and cheering you on. You don't need to dwell on the things that you don't need to. And it's okay to let go of the baggage. It's okay to let go. That's why they have traveled back here. As all three of you are in your meeting, you notice that this is all of you. Just all in different times and places, different timelines. And you exist right now in all different realities at the same time. And take a deep breath in and out. From that place, knowing that all of you are in existence right where you need them to be and having that meeting, when you're ready, you're going to float above your body again. Float above your body, float above your body. And you're going to slowly come back to now. And just before you reach your body, you're going to look back. See how things have changed. See how things have already shifted. See healing that has taken place. See that you've picked up some of the pieces from the past. Just look at how healing can happen quickly and in an instant. And that deep wisdom can be easy. Come back into your body where you're sitting in right now. Take a deep breath into your heart. Breathe in and out, and know that healing is yours. Know that everything that you've been doing and everything that you've been going through is actually taking roots underground and underneath. You just may not see the sprouts yet. There's an entire universe and ecosystem that's building deep within you with roots and underground. Know that you've planted the roots of healing. Know that it's done. Know that you've healed. And remove the pressure because you know the roots are in place. You just need the right conditions, light, sunlight, water, clean air. Know that you are enough. Take another deep breath, one last breath into your heart, all the way out. Come back nice and slow. Come back to today. And write in the chat, what was your experience from that last meditation? What did you notice or what did you feel? You can write or you can take yourself off mute, whatever you would like. Lighter, excellent. Very relaxing, more peaceful, calm, wonderful. So that last meditation, you can listen to it over and over again. And because now you know you're traveling back in time, if you feel ready, you can go back and revisit some of the traumas that you are aware of. Okay, obviously do this when you're not triggered, okay? If you're feeling triggered, you do the other exercises that we learned earlier, okay? When you know you're in a space where you want to start healing the past, healing the old traumas, this is the meditation you do. Okay, you bring forth with you your past, your present, and your future so that you can all heal together as one. And you'll notice afterwards you are more peaceful, you are calm. And in that state, your vagus nerve is functioning just fine. So I finished a couple minutes early in case some people had questions. Are there any questions to what we did today? Yeah, go ahead, Kathy. Oh, you're on. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm going to unmute. I just want to make a comment. So for all of your exercises, all three, I did an extreme amount of yawning, which typically for me is a release.
Yeah.
So thank you. It was great. And I learned a lot here that I was not aware of. So thanks again.
No problem. And yawning is your body's way of opening up even more, letting out more air than it normally would. How long do you gargle for? People work up to about 2 minutes. Okay, start with what you can. Some people don't know how to gargle, and so you don't want to like start with 20 minutes or something. Okay, start with a couple minutes at a time and go, but that stimulates the throat area and the throat muscles in which the vagus nerve goes into to intervene. Okay.
I missed the gargle part. Where was that?
That's one of the exercises that helps with vagal tone, along with cold therapy, like in cold showers, yoga, and gargling and laughing. Apparently, I don't make you guys laugh enough. But that all helps build the vagal tone. So we've got building of the vagal tone. We've had exercises that stop it from going down and reacting in the moment. And then we have one meditation that goes to heal the vagal trauma from the past. Okay, so I tried to bring the past, the present, and different future events. And go ahead, Vern, you had a question.
Okay. All of these exercises so far have been for oneself. Are there things that you can do to assist somebody else who's struggling with trauma and whose vagus nerve needs to be reactivated or strengthened?
Yes, so if they're asking for help, yes, you can teach those same exercises, or even just keep repeating for them, feelings are not facts. And even ask them, do the same exercises, ask them, is this a real threat? Are you currently experiencing a life-threatening situation? And most of the time they'll be like, no, right? If you can get them to a state of no, you can say, all right, then it doesn't have to escalate right now, right? You're not actually being chased by a tiger. You don't have to run away. And then bring them, Okay, if they're letting you, again, it's all what they will let you. We only have the power to change ourselves. So that's why we start with all the exercises for us, right? And if you notice somebody is in that response, the best thing you can do is to stay present and grounded so that you don't interact with their response, right? Because if they're triggered and then you're triggered, then you're just interacting with each other's triggers, which is going to cause a downward spiral. So if you notice somebody else is in that state, and the best thing you could do is do these exercises for yourself and stay grounded until that state passes, and you might have an opportunity to say, hey, would you like some help with it? But if they're in the moment, if they're already triggered, you asking them if they want help is probably not going to result in them either wanting the help or in them saying, well, like, I don't need help. I'm not the broken one. It's all your fault, right? Okay. Does FSM vagus nerve program replace the toning exercises? The vagus nerve program, the FSM one, when people come into our office, it's when they can no longer regulate their vagus. So they've gone so far beyond what these exercises, like these exercises are great, don't get me wrong, but it's when you need extra help, right? If you've been in a chronic healing crisis, you've had chronic illness, we're talking long-term trauma, then you probably need some extra help. Okay, and then we would come in and do an FSM vagus protocol. So it is an addition to support these exercises are. Okay. Anything else? Go ahead, Janice. Oh, you're gonna have to take yourself off mute. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
You're off mute.
So I had a little question here, and I was wondering, can you be more than one response type? Can you
Yes.
be fawn and fighter?
Typically, it is, yes, you can have a combination of the two, okay? But usually you respond one more often.
Yeah, and that would be the one more often for me is
Yeah.
the fawn one. Also, is it possible that the vagus nerve is damaged by surgeries that I've had?
Yes, yeah, for sure, because in surgery,
in which
it can be cut.
case is these sort of exercises would help with that as well?
Well, remember, you've got two vagus nerves.
Okay.
So even if one is damaged, and again, it depends how damaged, right? Like if it's close together, it might be able to reattach and heal, maybe, right? But if it's completely sliced, probably not, all right?
Yeah.
But you can actually rewire the nervous system still, even, and you have two, one on each side of vagus nerve. So the exercises are still going to work for you, even if your vagus nerve is damaged.
Okay. I just I've had four surgeries, and I had read somewhere that when you have abdomen surgeries, some people, like 20% of people who have it, well, I think my chance increased by having 4 different surgeries.
Yes, so absolutely, because the vagus nerve is so prevalent and starts in the brain and goes all the way down and into the digestive system, it's such a long nerve that when you're having surgery, like how can the surgeon not, like they don't know where your nerves are. You have an idea of like where the muscles are for sure, but you don't know for everybody where the nerve innervates it. Could be halfway through the muscle, it could be under the muscle, and what the branches look like.
Yeah, and three of the surgeries were hiatal hernia. So yeah, you know. Yeah.
For sure, they would never be able to tell exactly, what nerve or what they were, like they would have an idea of the actual nerve, but what branch of what nerve, they wouldn't know that.
And I'm wondering maybe too if because I'm sure that there's a lot of scar tissue happening inside my body too, and that could also, I would imagine, damage.
Yes, and scar tissue would be a separate issue that you would need to work on.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Perfect. Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, Vern.
Could you it seems to me that massage can make a difference in stimulating the vagus nerve. Could you say something about massage and where and how? I've had some good results on the abdomen, but maybe there's something that can be done on the neck or other places.
Perfect. Okay, bye Deepa. She just has to run, so we'll see you soon. Yeah, so the vagus nerve, you'll notice abdominal massage, as you said, is a good spot because it comes around like and it innervates the neck and the throat area. Gentle massaging of that. Lymphatic drainage. Yes, Pete Walker, that's the person who wrote the fawn response. You're absolutely right. Thank you, Charles, for Googling that. He is the one who first identified it. So you can read that book and it talks all about fawn. All right, so to get back to it, yes, you can. Neck massage and following it down, your body towards your stomach on both sides, one side at a time, please, can help to stimulate it. All right, getting a massage therapist that specializes in the areas would be helpful because as they can also work on the scar tissue that builds up around it as well, as Janice was talking about. Okay, but if you're doing solo massage, you wouldn't do massages on both sides at the same time because of the carotid artery, but you could massage along the neck and along your body all the way to your stomach. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, wonderful. Thank you everybody for attending the workshop. Hopefully you got some exercises that can help you in your vagal tone and the vagus nerve. I am going to be setting this out, the recording, so that you can listen to it. I really suggest that you redo the last meditation over and over and over again because it can heal all different parts of the vagus nerve from when it first started to become dysregulated. Right? From the past, the childhood traumas, that is a great starting point. Okay. Awesome. If you need anything else, send me an email, contact the office, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.